Trinity Covenant Church and friends, we are so grateful that you've taken some time to join us for this time where we can hear from our guests some of their stories and perspectives from different walks of life that I believe will help enlighten and encourage and also challenge us during these challenging times. I wanted to begin with the question of how did the news of George Floyd's killing, his death, personally impact you?
I think it was the cries of a grown man calling for his mother during his last moments on this planet before he transitioned that sent a shock through my spirit, my soul, to the core. And I don't think I've cried that hard since my mother passed away.
Mama. 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 Keeping your eyes closed, imagine George Floyd was white. What would the response be?
From a parental view where I lost a child, that's my first reaction, is that's someone's son who died. And to have him yell out, "Mama," it just hit me right here. It's like, it doesn't matter how people die. If they're, my daughter died of natural causes, a rare disease. That we couldn't stop. But this kind of stuff shouldn't happen, and we should stop.
I think everything you all said, I felt. I could not believe we were watching it. Like you said, we were all home, we saw it. It was angry. I kept thinking, what would I do? Are you paralyzed? Did your fear stay there? I kept saying, stop him.
I was brokenhearted. Brokenhearted for George, for his family, for the people who had to stand there, powerless to stop it. My heart breaks for those officers' families, innocent victims from a heinous act and failure to act.
One of the consultants said to me, until your board looks like those you're serving in your community, you will get nowhere. That rung in my head day and night. But as soon as we started and got that we needed to look like our community, we needed to act, for our community and work with our community, and then we needed to do things with respect and give those people that are coming to you at their lowest hour a place where they feel valued and respected. We've seen incredible things. Mr. Weiss was our town manager, and he came around to meet me as a social worker. I was very green and very young, and he said, Beth, you've got one of the most important jobs of our town. You deal with people who need you most, and he said, if you have to err on the side of kindness. And I have practiced that with my staff, err on the side of kindness. And I really believe it changes lives.
I say blessed to witness the evolution of education. Slow as it is, we have evolved from wanting to label students and blame them for their lack of learning, and then taking a more introspective look at ourselves and figuring out what are we doing to engage our students. That's why I can't say it enough how proud I am to be part of the Manchester public school system. We have so far to go, but we've come so far. The district as a whole, we're working diligently to address those issues. COVID-19 was a gift and a curse, in my opinion. It was a curse because we've lost over 100,000 people to this pandemic. But again, I think it was a gift because we've had to reimagine and rethink how we're educating our students. That change would have never came without that pandemic. We were able to pinpoint our students who are inequitable, whether it be the resources they have at home, from something as simple as having internet access. In 2020, we have students in our town who didn't have internet access, and the Board of Ed decided to make sure that they had the opportunity to have internet access. That's what you think about when you think about equality.
So law enforcement is a difficult profession on the best of days. But when a heinous act like this occurs 1,000 miles away or 3,000 miles away, or even right here in Connecticut, it affects every one of us. There's shock, there's horror, there's anger that somebody in our profession would tarnish what so many others do so very well and give of themselves in extraordinary ways. I get the privilege and honor of working with law enforcement across the state and the chiefs, and there are truly remarkable human beings out there of all color, of all race, of all sex. So for what they're dealing with, and although I haven't spoken obviously to all of them, we have around 8,000 law enforcement in the state of Connecticut. I know personally, and the people that I have spoken to, they are hurting. They're hurting for all the same reasons because they are community members as well. For what we can do to support them, this one heinous act by an individual does not paint the picture for all law enforcement, and recognize that.
The generation that is coming up, if we don't fix it now, in my generation, they are coming by storm. And they are not afraid at their young age. These MHS students that spoke and that organized this, they want to be heard now. If this is a diverse town, then in different parts, from schooling to religion, to law enforcement, to housing, all the different systems, because racism is systemic, it needs to look like the town that is in. What I see from the white community is also pain. I see frustration, I see confusion, I see fear, I see trauma. And I think for me, that is why I manage or try to manage so far that they remain peaceful, because all I see out there is just pain right now.
So the thing that concerns me more than anything, and even through this pandemic, is the divisiveness when we need to come together. I don't have the answers. We have to have the answers. We have to come up with the treatment. We have to believe that any type of reform we're doing is to help everyone. That the only way we are going to do this is to stand together and care about each other, and start right here with the heart, and learn to understand that when Keren tells me she feels this way, I don't have to agree. I have to believe her. That's her feelings. And when you tell me your experience, I have to believe you. That's your experience. And I have to learn to look through your lens, or through your lens, or even through a police officer's lens at times, what they're going through. Change will happen at the speed of relationships.
Trinity Covenant Church has been here in Manchester for almost 130 years. We are a historic church. We are predominantly a white church in a changing and increasingly diverse Manchester. What message would you like to bring to our congregation during this time as our community and the communities in which many of us live in deal with all sorts of challenges and injustices, but specifically issues of racial injustice in light of George Floyd's killing?
From my perspective, I think it is important that we are out there and into the communities but it has to be an exchange, an equal exchange of understanding, and particularly in this period of time, to allow people to unpack their pain and to understand where that pain comes from.
I am challenging the church and churches in Manchester that look like Trinity. If it's in 2020 and we keep saying we have a diverse Manchester, then why doesn't your congregation look that? It's probably uncomfortable to hear this black woman saying your church is white, but yet your community is not. And that's uncomfortable for me to say. So I can only imagine how uncomfortable it is to hear. But if you're not ready to feel sick to your stomach, if you're not ready to be gut checked, if you're not ready for your soul to feel unsettled, then you're not ready to move forward.